Tonight's our workshop on the budget for next year. And I'm going to hit some of the highlights. We'll hit the general fund tonight, the main points. You should have a copy. Keep that copy for, in 2 weeks, we'll do this again and we'll be talking about it. So if you have questions from tonight's stuff, write it down or come talk to me, or we can talk about it at the next workshop. If you have anything, basically within the budget is from the meetings that we had with staff and meetings with the mayor and council. We've put together that information, as well as what the department heads and their budgets have put together. For the most part, a lot of what's in here, the numbers are pretty close to what they were last year. But there are some areas that are increased on the revenue side and the expenditure side, and we'll go through those here shortly. So this is the kind of the order that we'll go in. And I'll get some direction from you. What's in the draft budget? Again, this is a draft. You know the process. I didn't put it up here. We will have a couple workshops, and if you feel like you need another workshop after that, we can have another one. We shoot to have a final draft budget the end of July.
Yes.
And then we have to, we have our public hearings the second Tuesday in August. Second council in August. And then once we've finished, that's the public hearing that night, and then once we finish that, we have to have the budget to the county, I think by mid-September or something like that. And so that's the process that we work through. So what's in the draft budget? We've generally, because our levy rate has been so low, the amount that we put out there, we generally put the 3% in. But again, that's up to the mayor and council to vote on this. It's approximately $50,721. That's what we have in this draft. And then we also put in the new construction, and annexation goes with that. At this point, we don't have the numbers from the county, and so this is an estimate just based on what we're seeing. We actually estimated a little bit higher, but reduced it down by the amount under the new statute. So we could take 90% of the new construction, and I think the mayor mentioned it earlier, that the legislature isn't allowing us to take all the new construction. The other piece that you should be aware of this is we can't take more than 8% total of an increase there, but our number, our 3% increase is so much lower than anybody else's, we don't bump up against that 8%. And so we basically can take the 90% of the new construction and the 3% increase. Still, it's a much lower than, I think I mentioned Ratham's 3% is probably approaching 200,000. It's probably 175,000, just their 3%. And they're a city that's almost half our size. So that's the number we're looking at for total new property tax and the total increase. A couple of other highlights. In this budget, we just put a 5% placeholder at this point because we're getting information on that new plan, the 3A plan that everybody filled out the documents for. And then we're also going to be getting bids from Blue Cross and the others. Since we've had that information, I think we can get from everyone. I believe Sean told me that she was getting that information tonight. We thought we'd have it, but I have not seen it yet. And so we'll be analyzing that and then looking at where we're at for the subsequent meeting. We had in this budget in the past years, we've had to take from our like one-time money or a rainy day money to balance because of the increase in revenues, sales tax and other areas. We're pretty close. There's just a small amount of a carryover. I think it was 5,000 something. It's pretty close, but so we don't have to take from anything. We're using just the revenues and expenditures. And we'll go, again, I'll show you more detail on that. The total general fund main budget is at $6,773,864. That's higher than last year significantly, and the reason is we put in the part of the monies into the general fund from the American Rescue Plan. And again, at one point, we're gonna ask council for you to vote to take that or not take it, and we would recommend that we do so at this point. Again, utilizes growth money to add on and get some equipment, and we'll see that here shortly. Revenue highlights. So the pages correspond to the budget that you have. If you want to look those up, the property tax one we just went through, that's page 1. Total general sales and use taxes is up significantly. That's one though that always, gives me a little bit of a scare because that can be up and down. And so we try to be careful with that. Franchise fees, we put in about the same. Community development, building fees, we actually show an increase of 140,000. It's up over 600,000, and we actually, when I received the number from upstairs, it was actually a higher number, just the estimate, but we lowered it back down because that number is scares me, because if we have a downturn in the economy, that number can go down pretty quickly. Total intergovernmental revenues increased to 204. That's on page 2. Those are all significant. Out of that, 247,204, 62,000 was for state liquor distribution, was up again. Seems to be up the last while. The other two amounts are, if you look at page 2, it's the state highway distribution and the county highway district. Those total amounts, the increases, we moved those right into our street projects. So you'll see an increase to the street projects. We're up into the 500,000 range, which we have not been there for a long time. So we were getting money from the state for roads, and we thought it was probably appropriate just to move those right into to get more chip seals or overlays done for next year, which will be helpful. Licenses and permits, we're showing slightly up. Recreation, again, this year, we had a lot of programs not happen with COVID and things like that, and we're looking at numbers that are starting to increase even more, and so Susie put her numbers. That's actually pretty close, but it has a slight increase for programs. The last one there is a combination. These are all monies coming from either the federal government or like ARP's is a grant that we applied for. Those are funds that we should receive. If we don't receive them, then we wouldn't expend them. The American Rescue Plan piece, I'll show you where it is in the budget, and we'll take direction from the council. We put in and split this money because in looking at how we can use it, right now there are multiple avenues. I mean, like the library district could request some of the money. Some of the public could request it. The fire department could request some of it. But the 3 key areas that are listed in the American Rescue Plan are sewer, water, and broadband. And so we were looking at sewer as a way that we could maybe work on the Ramsey Road project. And so what we did was we split and put $1 million into the sewer area. So you won't see that tonight, but just to let you know. So our first tranche, or our first receipt of money, is about $1.5 million if you choose to take it. And then we get a second, they call it a tranche. I'm not sure where that word comes from, but basically that we would receive it. That 1.5 million second payment would be in this budget next year. So we're going to get, we should get the 1.5 million in this budget year that we haven't budgeted for, and we'll hold it. But for this budget, what we want to do is move $1 million into the sewer fund, and we can use it for the Ramsey Road, where we do the sewer and fix the road at the same time. In looking at the rules, it looks like we maybe can do that, because we've got almost a $2 million project in putting the sewer line in and fixing the road.
And that fits the
Yeah,
criteria?
we, two questions, we were on with consultants and some national folks, and they thought as long as it was one project, we could do it. We'd have to verify that. And so then
That's an answer to prayer.
that would help us. Because then that's how we could include the road project, is included as a total part of this other project. Right now, from Abby and I listened, and Sandy, we're gonna get her on, but we listened to a national call last Friday, Thursday, Friday on it, and a couple people had that question, and we asked it as well. So 1 million in the first tranche into the sewer, and then we budgeted the rest, the 500,000, and we just put it in the general fund, because we don't know how to spend it, and really the suggestion is we've got until 26 to spend it, that we need to take some time to figure out in the community what the needs are and how we need to spend it. And so we don't just assume, hey, we're gonna spend it here and here, that there may be some requests out in the community as you know, word gets out that
That would be
here.
smart, because I don't wanna, that's a windfall.
Yeah.
That's a windfall, and we need to be, that's sacred money.
So, but for the budget, and you can think about this, and you can tell us to do it otherwise, we basically just show it in about 500,000 in the general fund, and then spending it on projects. We don't know exactly what it's gonna be. And then in the sewer, having $1 million there, and then spending it on a sewer project.
So H6 is, we could do H6, H5?
Yeah, we as a sewer project, we can use it for. So that's the first, actually the first tranche we'll get in this budget year. We'll have to decide where we wanna put it. And then for this budget for 22, that's how we separated it out. But again, we're gonna need to do some work. One, if the council's okay to take that money, and then two, come up with a process in the community on how we ought to use the funds. So maybe be thinking about that. One thing that we did here on the call, and Abby, correct me if I'm wrong, if we decide not to take it, like, you know, if the county decided they didn't want to take it, it stays in the state and they distribute it among the others that are taking their money. So if we don't take it, another one of the entities in the area they'll split.
Yeah, but I don't wanna waste it, we're not just taking it to take it, we have
No,
projects.
we have lots of projects.
I was gonna say, I have a sheet, Matt, you talked about it, $55 million,
So we're getting 3.1.
so it's better than nothing.
It's great. You take that, plus our impact fee money, plus some of our one-time money, and we can get some of these projects done. All right,